The Madman! Welcome to the top cards of the week from Custom Hearthstone, week of September 1st. Starting with and yes, this is correct, a Hunter card, Agriculture. 3 mana, summon 3/0/2 seeds that transform into 3/3 flowers your next turn. Let's get the elephant out of the room. I don't know if the author of this card was high, and I don't know if people voting this up realized that it was a Hunter card, because clearly the first thing that everyone thinks of when they see this card is, wow, it's a Druid card. So I had to ask myself, do I dock points for huge flavor fails? And the answer I decided is yes. Though the transition to a Hunter is easy enough, you call it something like egg hatching, you summon 3/0/2 eggs, and then they transform into raptors or bears or boars or whatever you have. I do love the idea of a card that starts off like useless as a seed or an egg, and then maybe naturally transforms into something bigger. The design, 4 stars. Docking a point for the horrific use of seeds and flowers. Balanced though, 1 star, because this is, at its core, a 3 mana 9/9. And yes, your opponent can stop the 0/2s, and yes, the 9/9 is very slow in that you can't attack for 2 turns. It's too dangerous. I think it should be balanced around the assumption that the opponent can kill one of them, in which case a 3 mana 6/6 is still too strong. So I think it should be balanced somewhere around the lines of landscaping as a balance point from Druid. So I'd say what this card should be is summon 3/0/2 eggs that hatch into 2/2 hyenas your next turn. Fixed. Next up, I'm just gonna generally cover the idea of recast as a mechanic. In short, recast is if you play the card and then you play the card again, you get the recast bonus, and that could be on a spell and that could be on a minion. Cards that have had recast before would be something like Forgotten Torch, not quite the same, because the Forgotten Torch shuffled a Roaring Torch, and then the second copy of Forgotten Torch, didn't actually have the recast bonus. There have been kind of recast minions before, but the recast minion or effect here is just it tops off at something, whereas Pogo Hopper continuously gets +2/+2, and the Jade mechanic just always kept getting +1/+1. But those are similar to recast. So the danger of recast is, on a spell, it should be okay. The most you can do, realistically, is get the recast to go off once. For that, for the most part, I'm okay, but the minions are where the scary part is. In general, recast minions have only had a pile of stats in the case of Jade or Pogo Hopper, but if you have a continuous recastable ability, such as Fan of Knives on Garona, or drawing and discarding cards such as Mischievous Imp, then that is super disruptive. With Garona, you just copy her, and whenever your opponent ever gets a board, you just cast Garona, and then you basically win. And then with the good old Disruption Warlock control that you have, you could just have Brewmasters and Mischievous Imps, and then you get rid of aggro, and then the combo is just destroyed with your imps all the time. So super dangerous mechanic on minions. In general, I think the design, I'm going to give it a 4 star. I think it could work out for spells and could be very carefully put on minions, possibly. The balance of the cards shown as a whole, I'm giving 2 stars, because some of them are just clearly ridiculous, especially the minions are the ones to be dangerous. Be looked at. 1 mana, Power Word Dictionary. Discover a word spell. It's a little bit silly, but kind of cool. It does have Power Word Replicate, Shield, Shadow Word Pain, and Shadow Word Death currently to get in the standard meta, with a few more in Wild. And it itself, Power Word Dictionary, could be discovered. Fetches you whatever you need, and I think it's fairly balanced. I think the name is a little silly right now, but it could easily be renamed to something tome, is what I'm looking for, I think. So design 5 stars, balance 5 stars, cool kit for control priests. Hidden Poison, been a while since we've seen a rogue secret. When one of your minions is attacked, give it poisonous. Your minion is basically dead as well, and the Hidden Poison is used, so it's kind of like a 2-for-1 against yourself, but giving something poisonous is a pretty big effect. And it's a secret, which means you're kind of interrupting the opponents, and it's kind of sneaky. Plays well with the other rogue secrets. Hopefully, more rogue secrets are printed that are actually good so that the hidden poison is more hidden. Design, 5 stars. And the balance, I'm actually going to suggest a slight buff to it. So I have it at 4 stars right now. I think it should say, when one of your minions is attacked by a minion, give yours poisonous. That stops rogues and weapons and druids' hero power from being able to trigger the useless hidden poison effect. That makes the card quite a bit stronger. King Crushtation, 9 mana, 8/8, beast, battle cry, destroy a minion. Very simple design, and I was a little bit surprised that something like this has actually not happened in Hearthstone yet. And I was like, you know, yeah. General big minion which kills a minion, that seems very reasonable. Comparison point for this card would be North Sea Kraken's 9 mana, 9/7, battle cry, deal 4 damage. 4 damage is not quite as good as destroy a minion, I would say. And while North Sea Kraken didn't exactly see play in a lot of decks, I do feel like it was considered in decks. And this is just too generally good of a card. I would propose a slight nerf to 9 mana, 7/7. It's a really simple design, but I think it should be done, and this is nice and elegant. So I guess 5 stars. Balance, 4 stars. Again, I suggest the -1/-1 nerf. Warlock spell, Nethermancy. 1 mana, discover a copy of a card in your deck. When you draw the original, deal 5 damage to your hero. Kind of a play on tracking. This card does not discard the cards like tracking, which is actually relevant in Warlock because Warlock often gets through all of their cards in control type Warlocks due to the life tap. But unlike Shadow Visions, it pulls from all of the cards in your deck, which is generally like 15 to 20 unique types of cards, so you can't consistently find anything. It's a nice little silver bullet while not reducing your deck. And I like the idea of a delayed drawback. So the design, I'm gonna give a 5 star. Balance, 4 stars? I feel like the card is currently too weak, strangely enough. Like, it's both too weak and too strong. Because if you discover exactly Blood River Gul'dan, that's too powerful. But you can't consistently discover Blood River Gul'dan. If you're just discovering something else, it's like, yeah, 1 more mana and you have to pay 5 health eventually. That's kind of painful. So my proposal would be to change it to, when you draw the original, deal damage to your hero equal to its mana cost. Bullshank, the Ringleader, a hunter hero. Battle cry, summon the Shark Gang. So let's start by introducing the Shark Gang, which comes with a new mechanic of bleed. 2 mana, 2/1, Mako 11, rush, bleed, death rattle, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions, which by the way would inflict bleed on everything. Hammer Dead, 2 mana, 2/4, rush, bleed, also damages minions next to whomever this attacks. So that would potentially deal 4 damage to 3 adjacent minions after your Mako 11 sacrifices itself. And then you have the Great Bite, 2 mana, 4/2, rush, bleed, lifesteal. So that means your Great Bite will just casually eat something which is bled and you gain 8. Well, that's a lot of stats. 8/7 worth of stats, all of which have rush. But it's not quite 8 because after the initial Mako 11 dies, everything gets bled, which means your Hammer Dead is actually dealing 12 damage and your Great Bite is actually dealing 8 damage. So it's kind of like 22 rush damage, and then I'm not even counting the 1 damage to all enemy minions, and then you get the 8 lifesteal. So that's a lot. Then you have the hero power, Red Frenzy. 2 mana, summon a random shark. If an enemy is bled, add a Scarlet Trail to your hand. Okay, Scarlet Trail, 2 mana, bleed all enemy minions. When you have 3 copies of this in your hand, discard them and add the Chum Festival to your hand. 5 mana, the Chum Festival, summon the Shark Gang. So this is an example of something where it is possible to have too much complexity in a card. Is there any part of this that is salvageable? Maybe, but boy, is this a headache to even deal with right now. But for starters, it would be simple to just have Red Frenzy summon a random shark. That just cuts down a lot of the complexity already. You probably could remove the entire concept of the bleed mechanic while you're at it, which would reduce another layer of complexity. But as stands, what a headache. Bullshank, you get a 1-star in design and a 1-star in balance because you are ludicrously powerful. Shaman gets Reno Totem Shaman, 6 mana 4/6. Battlecry, if you control all 4 basic totems, fully heal your hero. Having all 4 basic totems is way harder, by the way, than having a unique deck. So it kind of remixes 2 ideas of 1, controlling all 4 basic totems, which was a thing that you could do to summon Alakir, and Reno. And the remix is kind of cool. I give the design 4 stars. Balance-wise, it's too weak. Cards that require all basic totems out need to do something ridiculous, and this does do something pretty good. But a control shaman is gonna have a very hard time keeping all 4 basic totems on the board. Realistically, you would want to make it 5 mana for 4/6, and then you would still not play it because it's just still too hard to do. So really, the only thing going for it is the vanilla stat line. So maybe you could just make it a 4 mana 4/5. Next, Warrior Legendary spell. Path of the Fist, give your hero +2 attack, you can't equip weapons. So at first you might be thinking, 4 mana for a 2 attack weapon, which is basically infinite durability. That sure sounds awfully strong. I remember a card like that, which I actually thought could provide enough value over time. Tentacles for Arms, which was a 5 mana card, which had 2 durability and 2 attack, and each time you actually, used all of the durability on it, you actually had to pay another 5 mana to repay it. So comparing that with that, this is a big buff on Tentacles for Arms. But that's not it. I always read the Reddit comments, and the author clarified, give your hero +2 attack, by the way, means that your hero has 2 attack. So that means whenever someone attacks your hero, you actually deal 2 damage to that minion. And that's where this card gets truly ludicrous past the Tentacles for Arms comparison. I don't even know where to begin other than, my god, that's not even close, and that should probably never be a thing. And if it is a thing, and I've seen this idea before where you have a shield for your weapon slot and it loses durability and you actually gain attack when your opponents attack you and the shield loses durability, that could be a thing, but permanently giving yourself attack, yeah, that's not ever going to be a thing. Unless it's a really specific quest with a huge payoff and it's hard to complete. But Path of the Fist right now, design 1 star, what were you thinking? Balance 1 star, what were you thinking? Revengeable, 5 mana 3/4, Battlecry, deal 1 damage for each friendly minion that died last turn. This is intended to be a single target card. Oh, and also last turn means your opponents killed your minions on their turn. Should probably be clarified somehow because it was a little bit uncertain when I looked at it too. With all that said, I think the idea of a card that punishes your opponent for clearing your minions is cool. More interaction, your opponent can play around such a card if they know it exists also, so instead of just fully clearing each turn, maybe they want to clear just a few things because they know that the Revengeable might exist. So I really like the idea of the card. I'm going to give the design 5 stars. The balance right now is pretty far off though. Reason being, there's a deck out there which would make ludicrous use of it. Token Druid, where you can simply use a card to summon 7 1/1s, and it's really hard for your opponent not to clear all of those if they're just a control deck, and then Revengeable would just deal 7 damage, which is quite a lot in a pretty common situation, but that's not all. Sometimes you cast the 7 Wisps and then you cast the Soul of the Forest on them. Your opponent uses Warpath 3 times, clearing your Wisp and then your Treants. And then you've had casual 14 minions die a turn, and then you cast Revengeable and you deal 14 damage. And that sounds incredibly scary. Especially if you cast 2 of them and you casually deal 28 damage. So Revengeable gets a 2 star on balance there. Could probably be fixed somehow with raising the mana cost. Would be kind of tough to make this a card that would work overall in anything other than Token Druid though. And then at a certain mana cost it looks ridiculous. It could also just simply say deal damage to minion. That's how you usually get around with these potentials for huge amounts of damage, such as Shield Slam. Make it so that you can only target minions with it. And finally, Patchy Parrot. 0 mana 1/1 beast. This is also a pirate. Cool little design, kind of like Nightmare Amalgam. It makes sense for this parrot to be a pirate and a beast, because truly it is. 4-star design, 5-star balance, and cute. Every Hearthstone expansion needs like the mascot 0 mana 1/1, right? I think Patchy Parrot is a good addition to the crew. I really like the design of quite a few of these cards. Look forward to seeing more custom Hearthstone cards, as always.